in Stellar Blade, it definitely seems like it's both related to the upgrade that you have on the Stinger,
the song.
but it's also related on what areas you're using
Adam,
the one.
scan
In
the
the open
airborne
world
squad
areas, they
member.
lag noticeably more, and in the Great Desert, it's the absolute worst.
It's a 4th Airborne Squad member. This is not a song. It only sounds like a song because the repeated voice is being refracted.
Lily, can you decode it?
Sure, I can try. 4th Airborne Squad. Traitor in our midst. Watch out. Trap. Unable to control movements. Pain. Eternal pain. Let me rest. Cut the power. Please. End it. What should we do?
You know what it is she wants.
Seems like your drone railgun services are required in here. Shame. But yes, this traitor in our midst. I have never been able to deduce any other possible candidate for that traitor in their midst that is somehow also known to the players, aka us when we play the game in our timeline here. That is Raven.
May your
Or that
memories
is
live
not
on
Raven.
forever.
So it has to be Raven. I mean, Raven was from the Airborne Squadron before the previous Airborne Squadron in that person's timeline. Like, that E-Protocol member was from the 4th E-Protocol squad, right? And Raven is obviously from the 2nd. So Raven had already probably enjoyed her, you know, in her own words, like her ecstasy of the power that she was able to obtain through creative prowess, I guess, or just grace, possibly. Actually, here's an interesting idea that I have never thought of yet. Why did the Elder Naytiba or Raphael Marx, why did he teach Raven how to combine with her own android's body with a Naytiba? Why did Raphael Marx teach her how to do that? Was that... Actually, let's think about what would possibly be his incentive here? Like, before... Okay, we already know that if we jump on the timeline where Raven is already incredibly resentful of Mother Sphere, and she basically hunts down all of the airborne squadrons that are deployed anytime after, that Adam himself tries to save the Eve prototype and probably other Eve protocol members as well to gather intelligence and, you know, find out where our Eve is, each and every one of those Eve protocol deployments, as well as where the captains are, that are also very good candidates also for you know, the fusion between the species. Like, Adam is trying to save those, while obviously Raven tries to kill those. So, logically speaking, through Raphael Marx's motive, it makes no sense that if he already knew that Raven was walking down this path, that he would have given Raven the possibility of combining with a Naytiba to become an Alpha Naytiba, like, you know? So taking that into account, what is exactly the thing that Adam thought he was doing with Raven, you know? Because, like, if he himself thought Raven as a candidate for the interspecies fusion, then why would he... Like, when Raven was still, like, good-willed, I guess, and under, you know, the Elder Naytiba's guidance, and, you know, she wasn't incredibly, like, resentful of Mother Sphere possibly yet, and... Actually, no, even that can be debunked by the story itself. Because, like, the parts in the story where, like, that we hear from Raven through, like, the legacies that she leaves behind, even those legacies, every single one of those legacies that we have found to this point in the game, before, you know, the nest area, or the spire, or any of that, all of those were actually before Raven actually made contact with the Elder Naytiba. So Raven was already resentful and remorseless towards, what Mother Sphere had already done, and what she was about to do herself, from that point on. So, like, even from the very moment when Raven just very first time starts meeting the Elder Naytiba, finds a way to the nest, like, even already then, like, Raven must have already been, extremely resentful towards Mother Sphere and in her vengeance path to, destroy all of Mother Sphere's plans already at that point. So, like, there was probably never even a point when Raven was like... But if this is the case, how does it even make sense that... there is some massive inconsistencies there. Dude, the more I've fucking thought of this now... Not only is the world building fucked, but this fucking story... There is some massive fucking consistency problems here. With the motives of the characters. Oh my... What the fuck? That is... What did Raphael... Like, Raphael Marx or Adam, he has dialogue earlier in the game where he says that he does not want another one of these, like, extremely vengeful or Mother Sphere, like, resentful, like, revengers or avengers, that he's tutelaging once again from our Eve, when our Eve exits the area in the story where we go to Matrix 11 for the first time and defeat, like, Taki. And then, Eve comes back and she's like, I promise I'm gonna make them pay, whoever did this, and, she's got that obviously, like, evil and impatient tone, impulsive tone. And Adam says to himself, like, audibly in the next to the science memory square that, I can't let this happen again, Like, he says that to, like, himself, to comfort his own self in that situation. Like, that makes me think that obviously, like... No, but, like, it makes no sense with the fucking... Did Raven already find her way into the nest and already was collaborating with the Elder Naytiba for, the goodness of the interspecies fusion, possibly? Or towards that path? When she was still leaving her legacies behind about, discovering who Mother Sphere is. I feel like that in this timeline would make the most sense. But if that were the case, Raven's demeanor and her mannerisms during those legacies would have been a lot different. With how much she would have already known about, the Naytibas and the Elder Naytiba particularly, as well as, combination of what she learned from the actual, like, memory sticks from, like, the Legionnaires that were before, Like, where the fuck in this timeline is there possibly, like, a semi, like, faithful, like, Mother Sphere, like, devout, like, this fucking warrior Raven from, like, the 2nd Airborne Squadron as one of their captains during that, like, Airborne Squadron deployment? Where is this Raven in this story at any given point? Like, she turns resentful to Mother Sphere so early in the legacies that, like... Maybe she just felt more disappointed about Mother Sphere. Maybe it's not that she was already, like... I mean, yeah, she's resentful towards her, sure. But not to the point where she wants to, like... destroy all her plans and become extremely volatile to, like, mostly all other life besides some, all other, like, Andro Eidos life and Eidos Company life, Maybe it was just her, like, audible dissatisfaction and some amount of resentment for being lied to by Mother Sphere. Maybe that's what it was. But she was still, like, willing to, like, see her mission through to some extent. So when she finally meets the Elder Naytiba at some point, like, she was still, like, somewhat, like, coherent enough with her personal state that she was, like, possibly something that Rafael Marx could have leveraged to his own, you know, use possibly for the interspecies fusion, or maybe... No, but why would he, like... At any point of this, why would he teach... Why would he teach Raven how to combine, how to fuse with a Naytiba in the first place? Like, what is his goal here? Like, the interspecies fusion at the end of the game, it happens with Eve's normal body in her normal state. She's not fused or artificially, like, re-amalgamated with any other life forms at that point. She's basically just been software updating her own, like, body and beta core throughout the entire journey that we play, you know? And then we are able to fuse with Adam just like that. But, like... Raven, on the other hand, just turns into a fucking... Like, she's just turned into an Alpha Naytiba Androidos fusion. Where she's still, like... You know... self-aware and, you know, aware also of her own actions and her own decision-making, you know? So... How does... Or rather, why? Why is that somehow beneficial for the Elder Naytiba? There is actually one thing I can think of this. And that is actually how Adam or the Elder Naytiba works. So, knowing as to if Adam is able to, you know, move in and out of the Elder Naytiba form, that is something that he himself in his own dialogue debunks. However, in the Return of the Colony ending, where he turns into the Elder Naytiba, he turns back into his normal self for a moment, for his final words when Eve's sword is through his torso and he's, you know, giving his final words before he passes away. Like, that might be just video game logic, but that is literally evident of him being able to turn back to a, you know, normal, like, organic human from the form of the Elder Naytiba for a moment. Even though he himself warns in his own dialogue before that he is unable to, you know, turn back into his old self if he, like, surrenders to his hostile instincts. But what if it was exactly that? What if the reason as to why he teaches Raven how to turn into an Alpha Naytiba, or how to fuse with a Naytiba, that he himself knows that he can create Raven's fusion in a way where Raven is both self-aware of her own actions, self-aware of her own self, and she's also able to turn back into her normal self, maybe at will or by force by someone else, you know? Maybe that's the reason as to why he would teach that to her, because it's not permanent, you know? But then at the same time, what is the motive? Like, we get some, like... You know, she has stronger powers, of course, when she's the, you know, an Alpha Naytiba fusion, of course. But, like, why would she need that here? You know? Like, what is Raphael's motive? Like, why would he want Raven to have that form in this story? Like, what is it for? I'm gonna stop right now. This is not gonna go anywhere. That is just inconsistencies in the story that don't make sense. The rest of my comrades escaped to the far west of the Great Desert. They successfully managed to extract the data and funds of the Scion Freedom Liberation Alliance. If they follow along the wall raised in the desert and escape to the far west of the desert, they will be safe. But my story ends here. El, Ma, Kui, Sha, you butchers, Mother Sphere's curse be upon you. But, like, yeah, those inconsistencies in the story, they are just... They are painful.